everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started here. Definitely continue to get some food, get yourself a cup of coffee, get settled in. But we are going to go ahead and get started with this morning's program. My name is Corey Stutes. I am the Community Impact Director at United Way of Lincoln County, and I will be moderating today. Again, I want to welcome you to our March monthly forum of our Community Partners Council. We will be discussing supporting young adults with developmental disabilities. So I'm excited to get into the discussion today. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Big thank you to LCAP for being our gracious host yet again. So let's actually give them a round of applause. They have really come beyond for us this morning. Our eggs were cold when we got them. And so they were able to make some space and heat them up for us. So they are always very accommodating, and we certainly appreciate that. Just a couple of announcements before we get started. I really want to highlight another aspect of some of the conversations that we've had actually over the last couple of years. If you might remember, we have, I think 2 years ago, we started an online listing of summer learning resources for youth. So a variety of summer programs that youth can take part in. For those of you who provide summer programming, or if you're aware of organizations that do, even if you don't work there, if you could, please email us any updated dates. We still have our list that we've built over the last couple of years, but of course, some of the dates and things like that are out of date. So if you could, please send us that information. You can email me, you can email Ashley, you can email info@unitedwaylc.org. You can really do it any number of ways. But that'll help us to make sure that that listing is updated so that we can continue to direct folks there as they're looking for things to do during the summer. Because we all know that the summer slide is real, and I feel like it's real for me too at my age. Anytime I have a day off or a few days off, I forget what I do and who I am and all of that. So I couldn't imagine having a couple of months off now at this point without something to keep me going in the meantime. So that's a great resource. We want to keep it updated. So please be sending me your dates, program information, anything that's relevant. If it's not something that we've added to our list before, we will be happy to add it and get all that information on there. Another reminder for our funded partners, we are going to be ending our public forum a little bit earlier than usual. We will finish up by 11:30 so that our funded partners can hang back and we can have a quick meeting with them. So we do have a few items to go over for our funded partners. So if you are here representing a funded partner organization, please stick around at 11:30 so that we can have a meeting. Any other announcements, Deb? Anything? Cool. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our panel discussion. I would like to welcome our 3 panelists that we have this morning. They are representing a variety of organizations, so let me introduce them to you. We have Lisa Miller, who is the Transition Specialist Manager for the Lincoln County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We have, we got some Board DD folks over here. We have Kelli James, who is the Peer and Transition Supervisor for I Am Boundless. Right, let's hear it for I Am Boundless and Kelli. Yes. Finally, we have Angeletti, an Intervention Specialist who leads the academic instruction for Project Search interns at Lincoln Memorial Health Systems. So again, thank you to all of you for joining us this morning. Our panelists have received questions in advance so that they can prepare some questions. If you think of anything during their conversation that you would like to ask, there are slips of paper on your tables, those long skinny ones that say questions for the speaker. You're welcome to write any questions on those, and then when we get to the end of our questions, we will come around and collect those so that we can get those to the panel so that they can discuss your questions as well. Also, if this is your first time joining us at a Community Partners Council, you can use those contact list forms to give us your information. So let's go ahead and get started. Panelists, there is a microphone there for you to use, so whoever wants to start out. So let's just go ahead and dig right into our questions. So panelists, and you might need to hit that button there to unpause it on the thing. So everyone will have the opportunity to answer if you'd like. Once you provide an answer, you're welcome to pass it to the next panelist. What advice would you give to parents who might feel lost or have questions about what to do to successfully help their child transition from youth services to adult services?
I wanted to start with this first because I wanted to go more global, and then I'm sure we get more specific. But my first thing I would say to parents is don't go it alone. There are too many resources in our community and people who are exactly facing the same kind, concerns that you have also, so don't go it alone. And when we were taking our daughters to college, we were told when they call you with a problem, instead of trying to fix it for them, ask them what they're going to do about it and help them learn how to solve their own problems, because that is part of that growth and development. Another thing that I find often is that once high school is done, they've lost their built-in social system and activities. And so then as community members, as parents, we have to find something else to fill the gap. So getting them involved in the community, if they're interested in history, we have the Licking County Historical Society. If they're interested in coin collecting, there's just so many clubs, even a mushroom club in Licking County. Like, really? I like mushrooms, but not that much. So finding a way to help them integrate into the community based on some of the interests they have. Again, teaching life skills, even if they're going to be at home with you for a very long time, teach them how to do their laundry, how to make some of their own meals. I know that this has been part of all their high school, but it's a little bit different when they're out of high school and out of the classroom and doing it for real life. So that's like half of my list, but I'm going to pass it on.
I think that one thing that families can do is delay on planning those transition plans. So working with intervention specialists starting when the individuals are 14, working on that IEP, collaborating with the care team is extremely important. Also looking for resources for socialization and transition planning, starting at those earlier ages. For example, our peer mentoring program starts at the age of 14. So providing that extra layer of support for families and working with them as they age out of high school. We definitely see that there are a lack of services for individuals once they transition out of high school regarding things like social skills and daily living skills. So providing an extra layer of support for those individuals is our goal. So not delaying working on those transition plans is extremely important, and working with community partners can also help support individuals and families as they make that transition.
I would definitely recommend starting out as early as possible. The board, we do start working with the youth as young as 13, but we actually do get a lot of requests from families at 10, 11, and 12 wanting information. So one of the big things that we do encourage, I know you think, wow, 10 years old, that's really young. But if students have responsibility at home, taking the trash out, trying to start learning how to get themselves up, all that stuff will transfer over into a job opportunity someday, or just responsibility if they want to volunteer. Another big thing I would recommend for families is research. It's such a scary place. Everybody feels like they're alone. And we, as the board, Licking County, we have school systems, we have our community partners that we work with, but I will cite researching online. The Ocali website is fabulous for families. Employment First website, fabulous. They have a whole list of transition. It's very supportive. You can contact them for information. I haven't really ever came across any community partner that didn't want to share an experience or a resource.
Cool. And for anyone interested, can you, the websites that you listed, do you know where they are off the top of your head? You said Ocali.
It's an Ocali website and then Employment First website.
Okay.
I'd have to, if you want me to, I can Google the links after we're done.
Another one is milestones.org.
Milestones.org.
Yes, and I think that one's more parent friendly and has groups to support families as they are providing the services and support that their families need.
Great.
I also want to recommend, if you're not familiar with stable accounts, they used to be able accounts. Those are really important to help manage like a young person getting their apartment and funds. There's some parental or isn't always apparent, but parental controls of how that money is spent and how much the limits on it. But stable accounts would be another really solid resource to help I call interns because my students are interns, to help them progress into the next stage of being independent. And we send home a letter at the beginning of the year for our interns about doing laundry, about taking out the trash, and how do you get up by yourself? So I'm really glad, Lisa, you brought that up because it really makes a big difference when they come to us as interns wanting to work in the community. Those things start early and make a big difference. I think that's it for us.
I also suggest that families get connected with case management or care coordination. That clinician can really help with not only transition services, but also mental health interventions. So navigating different anxieties for transitioning, connecting with community resources that families might not necessarily know how to navigate yet. They can provide a wealth of information, and that isn't limited to just when they are transitioning out of school. It can be a variety of transitions that are in their lives, and that they can continue working with a case manager as they work through daily living skills, going into the community, getting a job opportunity. There are a variety of resources that case managers can provide as well.
I did want to just mention, as Licking County Board of DD, if you do have a son and daughter that may possibly be eligible, it is really important, the earlier the better, to get them started. If somebody is eligible for services, once they do turn the age of 13, they will be assigned a transition specialist and a service coordination. So both of those team up together, and you do, the data has proven over and over again our outcomes are really good just by starting services so much earlier. So.
Awesome, thank you so much. I think that really echoes kind of what something that is broadly applicable is that it's always best to be proactive, and there's no time that's too early to start thinking about the future and planning. So I really appreciate your suggestions. If anybody is interested and wants to catch the online resources that they mentioned, feel free to reach out to me and we can share that information if you didn't catch those. So thanks so much for that information. Moving on to the next question. Job placement may not always be the best option for every young adult who's living with developmental disabilities. In those instances, what other services would you recommend?
For I Am Boundless, we have a variety of resources for community integration, which is extremely important for all individuals to feel like they have a part in our communities. We have our peer mentoring services where a young adult is matched with an individual to go into the community, generalize social skills, continue to develop interpersonal skills, as well as our economic connections program, which supports individuals on interpersonal skills. And even if the topics of job readiness may not be the right path for that individual to take right now, there are opportunities for individuals to learn about different options that they have in their lives, such as volunteering, going into the community. We really want to support individuals in their goals of connecting with people in the community. We have a lot of really great community partners who are willing to have our individuals come. We also have opportunities like board game groups and our case managers helping to connect families with day programs as well.
I think we're all going to say about the same thing, is get your young person involved in the community so that they are a contributing, productive member of society, as well as in your home. Some people are like, where can they volunteer? You know, that's the question. But, you know, if they love going to the works, they have volunteer opportunities at the works. Echoing Hills camp programs that are out there. The libraries have a number of different volunteering opportunities. Parks and Rec, again, whatever your young person's interested in, I would Google that interest in Licking County. United Way has a lot of volunteering, so I'm gonna put a plug in for that. Because if you don't know where to start, that is a great place to start, is to look what's available through United Way.
Yeah, and not only do we have volunteering for our own activities and programs and office stuff, but if you're not familiar with our volunteer hub, that's a way for someone to sign up and we can connect that individual with volunteer opportunities in the community as well. So yeah, thanks for making that plug for us.
So one of the things that I would recommend, the Licking County Board, we use a person-centered approach. For every individual is different. We do promote integration, not segregation. It's, for many years, we did have a LICA workshop. We no longer do that. So our folks are integrated into the community among their peers. But one of the things that is really cool about the board is we do have services that if somebody, you say, maybe they're not job placement, that's not an option. Well, maybe we don't know that. So we can actually provide services called a career discovery, where a job coach works with them one-on-one and they dig down deep to see, like, do you even know what employment is? I mean, I haven't even met an 18-year-old that really knows what they want to do.
Right.
Or maybe they say, hey, I really want to try to work at State Farm, and then they're there for 5 minutes. They're like, no, I don't really want to do that. I want to try something else. And you guys chuckle, but the biggest one you hear, and not just for the people that I work with, but the community, is people love animals. I do too, but I'm not a fan of cleaning up after them. And that's the first thing that they realize, like, oh yeah, that's not what we thought employment was. So I do think it's important. There are options available for folks that maybe they don't want to work, and that's fine. And as Tina and I'm sorry, Kelli mentioned, there are opportunities like volunteering opportunities and different things. But I do think it is important to make sure that each individual understands exactly what employment means and what that can mean for you.
Which is a great lead into Project Search.
Yes.
Okay, so our program is designed for individuals 18 to 22 who have disabilities, who are interested in working. And we do get individuals say, I don't want to work. So we have to work really super hard to, like, this is what it is, and get experience. But researching, I have our interns, what are you interested in? Oh, YouTube comes up all the time. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to work with animals. Well, what does that really mean? And so we do this whole program where they research careers and they research the requirements for them. But our program is kind of that gap year, I would say, where we are working with them on job skills. We've had individuals that people, oh, there's no way they can work a job. And they do. And they keep the jobs and they're loved by the people that they work for. But if you have a young person, you say, well, I don't think they're quite ready to start working yet. Project Surge is that program that gives them a year and gives hands-on work experience within the hospital setting. So that they gain all these skills and social skills and life skills before they move out and start working in the community or at the hospital, who hires about half of our interns. So I would recommend that, and I know Boundless has a ton of opportunities also.
I'll make a plug for our Economic Connections program. So that program works on interpersonal skills, wellness, and economic inclusion for individuals. We work on job readiness, on strategic job search, and retention. The program lasts about 2 years for the individuals, and like in the other programs, we really dig deep to see what the individual's interests are, how we can best support them. We have different tiers of intervention as well. We recognize that not everybody has independent transportation. We recognize that some individuals need more behavioral support, and how can we support them in what their goals are. So even if their goal is not a job placement, those soft skills can still be so important for them to learn to be able to be integrated into the community, whether that be at a day program, volunteering, participating in social skills groups. All of those soft skills can really be applied to a variety of other environments. That program lasts, like I said, about 2 years to work on really implementing the skills across a generalized set of environments as well. And our job coach is a wonderful resource for families to understand the opportunities and options in the community, both within Licking County and Franklin County.
All right, thank you. You know, I think that that is what you said about understanding what it means to work. That's great advice for everybody, especially if you're school age, high school, college, whatever it is, determining where you want to work. I can't tell you how many places I see some library folks here. I worked at the library for about 4 years, and we would have people all the time who would come in and want to be interns or want to work because they love to read. And we all love to read, but that's not what it actually means to work in a library. Or you might want to volunteer at the Humane Society because you love animals, but you don't like scoop poop, and that's what needs to be done. So yeah, I think that that's good advice for anyone, but especially could be especially useful when you're navigating the situation. So thank you so much for all of that information. So what barriers do you commonly see for youth who are transitioning into adulthood in Lincoln County? Are there ways to prevent them or to minimize the impact of some of those common barriers? What would you suggest?
A common barrier that we're seeing is transportation. That's a huge barrier for a lot of individuals. Lincoln County is a huge county, and being able to access all of the resources within the county can be difficult. We are reducing that barrier by our peer mentors being able to transport individuals to the variety of environments that we are able to go to. We also provide group events where the individuals can be transported to those group events, and also it gives the families excuse me, a respite for being able to have their individual, their loved one come to a social skills group and be able to be around other individuals and develop those skills in a safe environment with a clinician. So being able to have opportunities for them to be there at a longer period of time is beneficial. We have a variety of groups that are also at different times of the day, so that if families have time restrictions where they can only transport during certain times, we're able to accommodate those different times. And also having people understand what services we have. So really getting the word out there is important. Having individuals and their families spread word of mouth that we have these programs is really beneficial. So really emphasizing and being part of community events like this has really helped reduce those barriers, and having families understand the breadth and depth of the services that we offer. The transportation is definitely the biggest one, but we're really working on reducing that barrier for families and individuals to be able to fully participate in our programs.
The transportation, I agree, is a huge barrier. I will kudos to transit. They've expanded so much nicely over the past year. Their local, what's the word almost? Yes, Anna, thank you. Their fixed routes have been amazing. I've seen lots of people just going to and from work utilizing them, so that's nice. I do want to recommend, if your son or daughter is part of Lincoln County Board, we do provide a service, a driving service, that the Lincoln County Board has been very generous to pay out of local funds. If they have a waiver, we can tap into their waiver. We have well over 100+ people driving. The independence that this has given them is amazing. And I recommend anybody get their driver's license if at all possible. And I know it can be scary. So one of the things we are very blessed with, we have a wonderful provider, actually two that we utilize. The first one is Capabilities. They've been amazing. And I will say an example for someone who's wanting to get their driver's license, I would say probably is about 7, 8 months, maybe 12 months. And the reason being is because they have so many services that the student gets to actually provide the service to each student. On the road driving instruction, they have an assessment to make sure that they're physically capable of doing it. They can help you get a permit. So they have many services. So that's why it takes a while. And actually, I think it's parents are happy with that, because it's not like, hey, they got their license and now they're on the road. Because they turned 18 and they don't have to go through the driving. So I think that gives families too a sense of safety. And it's, the money that the board is paying for that If you look at the longevity of not having to pay for someone for transit until they're however old is a huge savings. So it's actually a win-win. It actually gives the person independence into the community, and it also helps be able to spread those funds throughout the board for other folks that may need it in another area. So that's very exciting. Another thing I would say, waiting until someone graduates to call and say, I have someone that's 22 and I want transition services. Sure, we'll still do that, but the outcomes, we have the data to show it, they are much stronger when we get these kiddos at 13 or younger, connected with community partners and resources in the school system and everybody meeting together to have goals to help benefit the children that we're working with.
We use Licking County Transit for Project Search. So our individuals do not come on the yellow school bus. They are learning transportation skills in coming to our program. So the recommendation I would have for an individual family is, even if you could drive them everywhere, help them learn how to use Licking County Transit so they can get out and go to an event. And they're developing their independence that way also. And a lot of our individuals use transit once they get a job, whether it's a fixed route or to the door to your work site. And they do have reduced fees for senior citizens and those who have disabilities. It's a simple form to fill out. So instead of $4 one way, it's $2 one way. So we do utilize those a lot. I would recommend integration into the community life, whatever that might look like, whether it's through your church or if it's through United Way or whatever, just finding a way to get them out. The YMCA, you know, and taking classes there, whether exercise, just finding things that they like to do. Because we find that our young people with disabilities tend to stay home more, they're not outside as much, and they don't have clubs. It was all built in high school and then poof, it's gone. So it takes work to kind of say, oh, what can my intern do? And then I think there's help and support through like the agencies that we have here that can guide so that they don't go by themselves, that they have someone they can go with. So it's a little more safe and more, you know, not as scary for an individual. I'd be nervous putting a child of mine on the bus without anybody else and going to a new place. I wouldn't do it when my girls were younger, that is. But, you know, so teaching them, getting on the bus yourself and working through that with the agencies. I know that OOD, Opportunity for Ohioans with Disability, also has driving classes and funds to provide that also. Our interns either ride transit in, parents sometimes will bring them one way or not the other way, and then we have those who drive themselves because they do get their license. And you can see such a big difference to someone who has their license usually versus someone who doesn't. It's just another maturity level. And so I think what I hear a lot again is making and maintaining friendships for individuals who have disabilities. That's extra hard. And I know we have a question later that I'll save it for, but finding ways that they can make connections is so important, and not to be afraid to get them out there in the community. I think that's important also.
I will also say that one of the barriers that we've seen with individuals is we say, what are you interested in? And they say, I don't know. So we do a lot of interest surveying and providing a very diverse set of opportunities for individuals. We do a lot of really asking the individual, but also observing the individual and seeing where they're the most comfortable, seeing where they really thrive and building off of that. So we really want to encourage community integration, and through doing that, we can see where people are the most comfortable and where we can build upon those skills where they are there, and also build upon those interests and provide them with more opportunities, a variety of opportunities to continue to explore those interests.
All right, thank you so much for those wonderful suggestions. And there really are so many organizations in the community that provide opportunities to make friends, get involved. You know, when you were speaking about finding ways to volunteer and be a part of the community. I was thinking of, Together We Grow has a program called Here We Grow Gardens, and it's just a really cool program. There are so many opportunities in the community for folks to get involved. So really great suggestions. Thank you so much. So for the next question, we received this question in advance. This question comes from a group of parents and supporters whose children are currently receiving services, multi-system service coordination. And so this question is regarding guardianship. This can be an overwhelming and daunting decision to make, but do you have any guidance for parents who may need to consider pursuing guardianship of their child once they become an adult? And how might they determine if that is necessary or in the best interest of their child?
So guardianship is not my realm, it's service coordination at the Lincoln County Board, but what I do know that I can share is, I do know that they recommend most families to go to probate court. They have a packet with all the documents in it. And there is different levels of guardianship. So it is very important to research that. And I do know that it's a process. So if anybody would like a lot of information from that, and they do have a service coordinator for their son or daughter, I would highly recommend contacting them. But you are eligible just to go to the probate court and pick up a packet, and a lot of the information is shared in there. If somebody would want to see a book, I did bring one. If I only have one, but if someone wants to look at it, you're more than welcome. So, or keep it.
We could get more if you want more.
Yes.
Yes, I would like more.
Okay.
So one of the things, two of the things to consider with guardianship is that capacity, so the ability to make decisions, but also competency, so that they are mentally, physically, developmentally able to make those decisions. Like Lisa said, maybe full guardianship is not the route for families to go. There also is the opportunity to look into things like power of attorney. So those opportunities can be beneficial for families if they do not want to pursue full guardianship. We do suggest that you reach out to a lawyer who can help with this process. Like Lisa said, it goes through the probate court, but not all families may know the ins and outs of how to do guardianship. It can be really daunting. So providing that extra layer of support from a lawyer can be really beneficial. We do have a lawyer who we have connected with through Boundless. If anyone is interested in his information, I do have it. That I'd be more than happy to share with you. But that is a decision that can be highly personal for families. And there are, like I said, those opportunities to look into alternatives such as power of attorney for medical, for financial, being that if they are not pursuing full guardianship. So taking into account that capacity and competency, it is the burden of the family to prove that guardianship is appropriate. So having the forms and the supporting documents is extremely important. So starting that process when they are 16, 17 can also be really helpful. So they're not turning 18 and you're scrambling to get those documents, those references. So being able to start that process a little bit earlier, like with all transition services, can be very helpful.
I'm working with the transition 18 to 22-year-olds, and I can't tell you how many parents think that just because their child turns 18, they lose guardianship, and it is automatic. So starting early is important. Also conduct and helping determine their capabilities, their capacities. You can go online and Google life skills assessments, and you can do them at home. We do them in a classroom. We do it when we're looking at who's going to be accepted into the program for the following year. And that can kind of give you the verbiage that's needed and the level of their capacity. I mean, you know it as a parent. You usually know where they're at, but sometimes we don't always know what level they really are at. And it depends who's doing the assessment too, and how we see that intern or that individual. And, determining that level of support, those life skills are very important. You can kind of do a check, and it just helps guide you a little bit in that process. And it does take a while to do. Again, start early and determine just what level you really need. I also wanted to mention that you can have a payee source for an individual, even if they're living in their own apartment. You can have someone else be overseeing the financial aspects of it and paying the rent. And that can also be part of the stable accounts too, being able to pay for rent and for food and transportation. A lot out there.
All right, thanks so much for that information. Certainly something that would be difficult to go through, daunting, and very overwhelming process. So I appreciate all of that information for anyone who might be in that situation. Anna?
Can I just share another resource for that if people are interested?
Yeah.
The Ohio DD Council is where those guardianship books come from. And if you go on their website, you search Ohio DD Council and publications, you can download all of their publications, including that guardianship book as a PDF for free, which is what we do. We download them from their website and print them off to give out to people. So it's a great way to get that electronically. And the DD Council has amazing resources for a lot of different things, not only for families, but also for like professionals about like how to refer to people correctly when you're writing, when you're doing, when you're doing your job. So it's a great resource.
Great. Do you have what their website address is? If you have it pulled up.
I want to say it's like an easy one, but it's through the state of Ohio, so it might not be. It might be like multiple steps.
Yeah, something like that. That's great to know, though.
ddc.ohio.gov. That's not too bad.
All right.
We've all been through worse.
Yeah. ddc.ohio.gov with their publications. That's a really great tip. Thanks so much, Anna, for sharing that. So panelists, what services would you like to recommend, whether they're at your agency or at another, that parents, guardians, and supporters of young adults with developmental disabilities or youth who are soon to be adults should be aware of?
So at the Lincoln County Board, we do, like I explained, we do have a position transition specialist as early as age 13, and the services that they can assist families with, and that I would highly recommend for all students, is we are able to assist you with volunteer opportunities, employment opportunities. Summer's coming up, so our 14-year-olds are going to be participating in a summer youth program with OD, which is Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. We can assist with driving opportunities, a benefits analysis, which is huge. We have a lot of families that their students are on benefits or they want to get benefits, and they have misinformation that they can't work or they can't do anything because they're getting SSI, and that is so not true. And the stable account also can help with that, being able to make more money and be able to put it in that account without your benefits being affected. The board has been very generous. We have somebody that we have on contract that we can hire. She does a very thorough benefits analysis, answers all of our questions. That is very daunting, SSI. It's always changing. I had 3 changes this week that she sent to me, just so we would be in the loop, but it would be really hard for just the average person to stay on top of the changes of Social Security. So that's such a blessing that we were able to do that. We have our transition specialists are able to accompany folks to college, to like a college tour, to help them through the FAFSA process, making sure they get all their ducks in a row when it comes to wanting to go to college. We do have several folks that are attending college. I've been at the board 29 years, and the changes from when I started to now are just astonishing. The opportunities that are available. And I think that a lot of it is just families they don't know. And I think that as a community, we need to do a better job informing everybody of what is available. Because it's just so fascinating to see these young kids drive, live on their own. We follow Employment First policy. That started back in 2012 when Governor Kasich was in rule. He basically put that initiative in that all people that want to work, they don't have to work, but if they want to work, they have more opportunities. We're now a technology first state. So the technology that students are utilizing when they are working on their phones, you know, Surrey's reminding them to do the next task. I mean, it's just amazing the opportunities that are here now that were not 20 plus years ago. And I think that's such a cool thing. We do have families reaching out because they want to know. But I also do think that there's a lot of families that don't know. So I know one of the things the boards are always trying to do is we're trying to keep informing. One of the things I did want to mention is we do work very closely with the educators. Our team, we do prefer to set, if we're invited, we like to attend IEP meetings. We like to stay closely as a multi-system approach. So in the summertime when our kids are working and they're doing volunteer opportunities, that information can be taken back to the educator and inserted into their IEP once they're of age. Usually it's 16, I believe. Is that correct? I think it is. So those are a lot of the services that I would definitely offer, you know, recommend. A career exploration is one too that's huge. That should be for every student in Licking County. Every student should have to go out and observe employment. It shouldn't just be for kids that have a disability. It should be for everybody because nobody really knows what they want to do. Another thing that I would definitely recommend, integration with your peers. Our students, they like, if we hire a job coach, I'll just give you an example. We'll hire a job coach. They need the extended follow-along service is where, you know, say somebody's working at Kroger, a job coach needs to go in and maybe fine-tune a few steps that they learned. Sometimes our students, they don't want us to be in person. They want us to be on the phone or they want to do email. And as an older staff person, that's kind of been a change for me, learning how to do that over email and texting. I know my staff's probably laughing at me, but it's true. I mean, I'm like, I don't know, I got to learn that myself. So the world's changing, and I'm proud to say that the Licking County Board's changing with it. So that's kudos to, you know, Licking County. I think that's cool. So.
Sorry, my hands are sweating.
Okay, so first of all, I'll do a plug for Project Search. If you have a young person that needs an extra year and they're considered a fifth year student and they're still with their school system, please don't have them accept their graduation diploma, because once that happens, then they're not eligible for Project Search because it's the school that pays for that individual to attend Project Search. So I just want to make sure that I put that out there for that. OOD, works very closely with Project Search. We have a team, it's a collaborative group that makes Project Search happen. We also work with Greenleaf, who does a lot of job training services, and they are growing their resources dramatically, you know, with, you know, employment options, financial lessons. I mean, they can do it one-on-one, they can come and do it in a class group, which we've had them come to us. So Greenleaf is also a very integrated part of our program at Project Search. Then there's Goodwill that also does employment. They do job coaching. They have, you know, they have a lot of their own programming also. I did an externship there for 2 weeks. I went, I didn't know you did this. You do horses? You know, I mean, they just do a lot. And until you go and talk to them and get on their websites, you really aren't going to know the depth of what any agency does. And so my recommendation is ask questions or say, I have this problem. We had, like with my mom when she was towards the end of life, and my dad's like having all these issues. It's just like, Dad, all you have to do is say, this is a problem, and they have a solution for you. Because we were working
End of life care.
hospice, yeah. So totally not related right now, but my dad, you know, really didn't even know that all I had to do is say, I'm concerned about her congestion, and they're going to be able to help with that. And that's true with any agency, is just letting them know what your concerns are and going from there. Some other places like Center for Disability Services, Gathering Place of Licking County. There's, you know, if you're not familiar with those titles, you know, they have a website. Center for Disabilities is right behind us, I believe, whichever way we're facing. So it's real close, on that. So start earlier the better. Know what's out there in the community. We're trying to get out and do more, but don't be afraid to ask questions and ask for referrals for like a young person wanting to drive. They've got various options also.
We have a lot of programs at Boundless that are currently in Licking County. We also have programs in Franklin County. It's not too far away. But our peer mentoring program has really built up in Franklin or in Licking County, where we do go into the community with individuals and work on a variety of social skills such as communication skills. How do you enter and exit a conversation? How do you handle it if they don't want you in your group conversation? Relationship skills, whether that be within family units, whether that be in the community, at something like Project Search, how do you work with other people around you in a workforce, at a community event, in volunteering, also things like setting boundaries, how do you understand other people's boundaries, just every opportunity for working on those social skills is built into peer mentoring. So the difference between peer mentoring and, for example, case management, if they go to a rec center, peer mentoring is going to be working on those skills such as how do you ask someone to play basketball with you, what do you do if you win or lose, whereas the case manager is setting up that membership, coordinating transportation, etc. We are working on those soft skills that really help people feel connected in the community. We also have our economic connections program that I spoke about with job readiness, job search, and job retention. Those are opportunities for individuals, regardless if they're looking for a job or not, frankly, that they can still learn those skills. Maybe that's something down the line that they want to get involved in, but we do have that opportunity now, starting at the age of 18, to be able to be included in that program. We also have parent training that is provided through our outpatient therapy services. So that's another opportunity for families to really understand what's out there, be able to navigate those complex dynamics within families. That's an opportunity. We also, in Franklin County, have our Girls Night Out program where young adult women with developmental disabilities or teenage girls with developmental disabilities go into the community once weekly to work on self-care and social skills. It's a really fabulous program. I'm actually the lead facilitator for it, and I love it. It's so fun. We do a variety of things like going and learning how to do your hair, or going out to eat. How do you handle taxes and tip, and making sure that you have enough money for what you want to buy? How do you relate to other people in an activity? So a variety of different social skills and self-care skills are built into Girls Night Out, and we are interested in if there's demand starting that also for boys. And if there are any questions about the services we provide, please feel free to let me know.
And another recommendation I would make is the Lookup Center. I don't know if anybody's familiar. They have that step up program. We have had a few people go through that program. It's around trades, very reasonable in cost. I mean, almost like free. But there is funding typically available if they're qualified through OD. And they would have to obviously have an open OD case, and then they would be the decide if they would be eligible for the funding. Also, too, I may put a plug in for CTEC adult program. The programs that they have this year, they just keep expanding. And our youth they have a lot of things that youth like, security, IT. They're just really getting more focused on the young, which is awesome in their trades and different things. So we have had some adults go through that program. Again, if there is funding available, if they qualify, of course.
Okay, so a lot of times people in the community have like, well, they can't go to college because they have a disability. Well, there's disability services on every college campus, and you can take your IEP in and you'll set up a plan that helps them. I mean, I had a student learn how to do CPR, and she needed to have the microphone and the large vision screen and everything, and she passed everything doing it, even with all the disabilities, which was significant for her. So I do know that Columbus State has programming for individuals with disability. Muscatine College, I did not know this, they have like 4 levels of different services for individuals who want to go to college and to learn. And of course, we know online learning also is pretty big. And then Mount Vernon Nazarene University is starting the Ignite program. So I can't wait till they start it up, because it'll be the first year and I can go visit and see what it looks like and what it is. So, college is well within the realm of a number of our individuals that have that. And then there's also free things online if you want to think, can you really do an online class? We have Allison.com, we have typing.com, you have Khan Academy, and so many that are free to be able to take lessons online of what they might be interested in. So I would also look for online free curriculum also that they could do a trial run if they're going to take a college class online.
Can you repeat those links again? Sorry.
That's okay. Typing.com and then Allison, ALISON.com. We utilize them in our programming. I also know the library has a number of links too, and I just blanked out on them. But they're right at the top. So you go into the library's website, and I've signed up for CoEdX or something like that, and Khan Academy, it's KHAN.com. All of those are all free services, and I actually use them in our programming. I expect our interns to pass one Allison.com course. It's not designed just for individuals with disabilities. It is a general, and the coursework is kind of up there, so that, and our interns are able to do it. So.
And another note on if individuals are looking into things like higher education, we do have the resources to be able to help families navigate that in disability services, as well as our peer mentors being able to help individuals know, how do you talk to a fellow student versus how to talk to your professor? How do you send an appropriate email? How do you set up a study group? So we do have those opportunities to further educate individuals on the social side of going to college, but we also have case management to help with how do you get those disability services? How do you schedule classes? How do you advocate for yourself? So we really focus in both peer mentoring and case management on advocacy for yourself. That's what a lot of individuals who are in the transition age include in their care plans with us. And it's something we do target to make sure that they are receiving the highest level of services and making sure that all of the environments that they're in are fully inclusive.
Awesome, thank you. We do have a few Muskies in the room, so I'm glad to hear the plug from Muscatine College. And I do remember, even though it was a long time ago when I was there, I do remember that program, and I remember being in class with students who were there. Some had physical disabilities, some had developmental disabilities, and it was really such an eye-opening experience for me, because I was very sheltered, and that wasn't the experience that I saw in my high school. And so it was so beneficial, I'm sure, for them, but for me as well. And so, yeah, we're all kind of here in the center. Any other Muskies here? We're all proud to be.
I was a note speaker for Plus program, so.
Yeah, that's what I remember the name, Plus, yeah, awesome. Also, just to kind of, we were talking about some of those online learning programs. You may or may not be aware of our program Generator, which could be a possible opportunity for some individuals who are looking for some career development. Generator is 100% free to the participant, and it's an online upskilling program. And then they do also provide career placement services. They have connections around the country for remote jobs, but we've also been working to build connections locally if someone would prefer to work in person. Some of the coursework that we have had so far is we've had project management and administrative professional. So for someone who might be interested in those fields and something that would align with their goals and their interests, that could be another thing to consider. We do have rolling applications available on our website. Even though we only offer cohorts at certain points in time, it will put someone on a wait list even if there's not an available cohort. So that's something to check out. It's Generator with an 8 in the middle, GENER 8 TOR, and you can find more information about that on our website. We do also have, for someone who is looking to gain their independence and be able to get a driver's license. If the cost of that is a barrier, we also have a program where we can pay for temporary learning permits, driver's license. If someone needs their birth certificate in order to get that, and they don't have it, we can pay for that as well. So lots of opportunities to encourage those individuals to be independent, and we can help partner with that in those ways. So for those of you who had questions for our panelists, if you have written your questions down on those sheets of paper, if you want to hold those up, someone will be around to get those. If you haven't written them down yet, you've got some things that you're thinking about, go ahead and take this time to write those questions down. And while they are gathering them up, I'm going to ask our panelists one final question. For the prepared question, thank you. So panel, how can we, as community members, how can we provide the most support possible to young adults who are living with developmental disabilities?
Making sure that community spaces are inclusive. So being aware of lighting, sound, is there a place to go if someone is overstimulated? If they need a break, is there a place to go outside and get some movement? Being aware of all of those aspects of being in the community is really important. We've had opportunities where partners have said, oh, we have this space off to the side where you can control the volume of the music, that you can adjust the lighting. That's something that we really emphasized at our Boundless Health building. Soft closing doors, dimming lights, movement rooms. Those are all available at all of our psychiatry, primary care, and dentistry office in the Worthington Center. So just being really aware of what the needs are of the individual, and making sure that community partners also know how they can support the individual. So advocating for the individual, but also educating that individual on how to advocate for themselves if they need something in the community. I also think being understanding. If someone's having a hard day, if someone's kiddo is going through a difficult transition, how do we make that easier for them? Is that using first then boards? Is that using a schedule? Making the information that you are contributing to the individual, making it accessible for them. What kind of language are we using? All of those different aspects of being a community partner and uplifting people with disabilities, those are all different ways that we can help further support individuals.
Being educated on the resources that are available in the community, I think, are hugely important. Education, just as I said before, people don't know what is available. So we need to do a better job as a community getting the information out. There's so many tools for folks to be able to grow and further their career or whatever it is they're looking for. Presuming folks are capable. I think, we should just presume that people can do it, because typically if you have that expectation, they'll rise above it, just as we do ourselves. So I think that's hugely to always remember that. And again, as you guys stated, integration with your peers. I think the more that people are just integrated in the community, then I don't think there'll be such a focus on segregation. I think the community has really came far with putting people, just integrating in employment, in school, at churches, at restaurants, wherever you're at, people are just integrated. And I think that's very important.
DD has a fabulous portable restroom. And of course, we have individuals in our family with disabilities, and we were at a fairgrounds, and you walk in and it's like 99 degrees outside and you're roasting, and it's air conditioned. And it has a table for adult-sized people, and making those kind of resources available at all our public events, and even restrooms that dad can go into to change a child's diaper, whether that child is 5 or 30, having those resources available. So I wanted to say thank you for that, because going to big events and you see this here, it's like, oh, I can take care of my person and we don't have to go home early because I have what I need here. I think that's really important for our communities. I'm going to do a couple general things first. Just take time to talk with individuals with disabilities, get to know them, have adult conversations with them. It's funny how we change our tone or our voice when we're talking with somebody who's hard of hearing or someone who has a disability that we're not comfortable with. We just kind of change how we interact, and we don't need to really do that if we want to be fully integrated. I also think as adults in the community, volunteering for like Night to Shine, the Special Olympics, volunteering at the library on our level so that we can provide more inclusive events for our young people with disabilities and support the caregivers. Our next door neighbor's like, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this because he's a big boy and he can be aggressive and she's just not. And so, you know, checking in with people that, you know, who have special needs in their household and, you know, whether it's visits, breaks, coffee break, food, volunteering to sit with them while they run a quick errand, you know, things like that. Just reach out to families who have individual disabilities. I think that we need more housing options in our community. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of, this is my big dream down at the bottom, Sam's Place. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Okay, so it's not segregation, but it is a community that families can live in that have an individual with a disability. So it's like, it looks like a regular apartment complex, you know, and a housing complex, sorry. And they have entertainment built into it, like a senior citizen community center, you know, you have your own place, but they have all these supports and services. And they have medical support and services too. I'm not sure that I haven't been one yet, but I just think we need a lot more housing options and supports transitioning to your own housing. There's also children who are in foster care, and I know our church builds up this, you know, apartment supplies to give them when they turn 18 and they're kind of being pushed out on their own into a residential, you know, apartment or whatever. For life of me, I cannot remember the name of it, so I apologize, but it is designed to support individuals transitioning on their own, but that's more for those with foster care, which we do have individuals in our program that are in a foster care situation. So that would be very beneficial to them. Increasing our transportation options, which I think between the hospital and Licking County Transit, they've been doing a wonderful job and just continue doing that. And a topic that most people don't want to talk about is dating, safe dating. What about this whole thing called SEX, you know, that we tend to shy away from? We actually have a curriculum built into Project Search that is about, you know, your personal hygiene and safe dating. We had an individual that had a boyfriend online they never met, and it was getting a little bit scary because this person wanted to meet them. I'm like, well, let's back up a minute, you know, and let's talk about this. But, you know, having them join like a singles club, and I know we have some in the community, but I think we need to start a singles club and go bowling and that activity. But also be ready that if they find somebody they really like, how can we support that aspect of their life that we take for granted? You know, and it's, you know, like, that's a very uncomfortable topic for parents about dating, you know, and for anybody. Yeah, she's like, do the plug.
Yeah, Family Health Services, we've talked, Tina, and Robin Butler helped too. Yeah, we have a health educator, Robin Butler, who has learned curriculum for individuals with DD. She's wonderful. When I came to the agency, my son is living with autism, so we were like, what can we do? Because as a service coordinator, I saw so many incident reports that were simply consent. Had they realized they had to ask to touch, we wouldn't have a whole investigation going on. So we've been at the board doing education before Robin Butler has, but she can do it one-on-one with individuals. We've had families bring individuals in on the spectrum that needed some education around it. So if you're working with a family that might need that support, definitely reach out to Family Health Services and we'll get you Robin, whether it be at your agency or one-on-one or however it works for you all. So I just had to plug that we do now have curriculum for individuals with developmental disabilities. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have a telehealth group that is specifically about social skills, which can be more accessible for families when they do have that limited transportation. But one of the topics that we do go over from our evidence-based curriculum, the peers curriculum, is dating. So that is something that we've seen our young adults, they are interested in, and providing them that opportunity to have safe conversations with peers about dating, their experiences, having a clinician there to support boundaries and safe dating and opportunities to meet new people, talking about apps that are available for you to meet people, but what are the limitations on that as far as what is safe, and understanding the nuance of dating. We also talk about hygiene and social boundaries and different conversation topics that you can have when you're learning about another person. What does that look like? So that is something also that we have as an opportunity to participate in.
All right, thank you so much. So many great suggestions there. Thank you for all of the plugs. I mean, they're really, and really, I think that's even just scratching the surface. I mean, because there are so many wonderful services in our community. A big problem is just, do people know about them and how do we get that word out? And so that's a way that we can all be advocates for what we know of and what we know, the folks in this room are providing. So these are definitely important conversations for all of us to be involved in, and I appreciate all of your suggestions. So we got a lot of questions from the audience. I appreciate your involvement. So we'll do our best to get through them. We may not get to everybody's question. Just before we do that though, I want to just draw your attention. I think we also have some flyers over there for our yearly schedule of our CPC forums. Next month's forum, which would regularly fall on April 9th, is canceled because that is the date of our annual Impact and Awards breakfast. So for our funded partners, we'll see you there. For anybody else, tickets are on sale now. You can get yourself a ticket and come have breakfast with us at the Reese Center on April 9th and celebrate the accomplishments of our volunteers and our funded partners in the last year. May, however, super exciting. May 14th, we will be discussing what is trauma-informed care. Really great panelists. We've got Tamara on our panel. She's back there. Let's see, who else? We've got Melanie Fling and
We're still working.
drawing a blank. No, it's confirmed. We have our panel confirmed. Yeah.
All of them?
Oh yeah, Ronnie Boyer. How can I forget?
Oh,
Ronnie?
yeah.
Yeah. So really great panel representing trauma-informed care. So you don't want to miss that one. And you can find all of that information on our website as well. So to get to some of these questions, the first one, this question, are you looking to add Girls' Night Out in Licking County? That would be 100% fantastic. Boys especially as well. So is that something that might be on the radar?
I would love to. So I would love to expand Girls' Night Out. We've been running it since 2023, and it's been extremely successful. We have some really great community partners in Franklin County. We've run the group multiple times. This session is our first time running the Young Adult Women's group. So it's a really great opportunity for individuals to meet each other. Part of the teen group is actually having peer models as well. We really emphasize that everybody has something to work on, so we don't disclose who has a disability and who doesn't have a disability. They all receive the same resources, the same journal, the same conversation cards, and so everybody is on the same playing field. We didn't want it to be like a helper model of, oh, you have a disability and I don't, I'm going to help you with a skill. It's everybody making authentic connections. I would love to spread Girls' Night Out to Licking County, and if there was an interest, as long as I was getting referrals, then I could justify it for my administrator. So that is something that I would love to move into Licking County. I know that it's a need in so many counties that there are just not resources for girls. And if there is an interest for teen boys as well, or young adult men in a Boys' Night Out program, then please contact me. The more referrals I get, the quicker I can put the program together.
Awesome. That's very encouraging news. So yeah, if that's a need that folks are seeing or interested in, sounds like you need to be reaching out and putting the word in. So thank you. This next question is might hit a little close to home for a lot of us right now. Are you seeing any budget cuts or hearing about any changes due to federal funding? Are you making any plans to adapt if there are any kind of cuts or changes happening right now?
I have not had any cuts to my budget so far.
We haven't either, and we're a little bit different category than most agencies, but we're status quo and we're still going strong.
I don't think we've had any, but, I mean, we haven't at our facility. Anna, did you want to touch on like Medicaid?
I mean, it's
I know
very
that-
much waiting and seeing right now.
Yeah.
When they froze the federal grants a few weeks ago, that impacted a little bit of our early intervention funding, but it was a very minimal amount. We're fortunate that we weren't more affected by the grant freezes, but obviously things have changed around that. But yeah, Medicaid is just very much a wait and see. I think the other thing that's confusing is there's so many different, like Medicaid is a big word that means a lot of different things. So the Medicaid waivers that our folks rely on for a lot of their direct care and daily needs has an impact, but there's also an impact if the Medicaid expansion is affected, because there are folks who provide care for the folks we support, or are people that we support who are eligible for that expanded Medicaid for their health insurance. So it's really very much waiting and seeing right now. And I think our state trade organization has been really proactive in going to Washington, talking to lawmakers, talking to state lawmakers about the impact of what could happen, but we just don't know yet.
All right, thank you. So sounds promising. A lot of folks haven't been super affected. A waiting game for the rest of us, just to kind of find out what's happening. This next question, can you talk about the power of expectations, both family expectations or the expectations of schools and employers? Those definitely have an impact. If there's anything to elaborate on.
So the question was wanting to know about the expectation?
Sorry, I wrote that.
We get a word from the author.
Clarification. So I just know we talk a lot about how when parents have expectations of their kids, or when employers have an expectation of somebody being able to do or not do a job, that has an impact on somebody's success.
Correct.
So I just wondered if you guys could elaborate on that, like how those high expectations can really make or break a situation for our young people.
So you hear people talk about soft skills, which those are extremely important. So basically we all kind of just naturally start doing certain things when we're younger, with communication and socializing. But some folks, it doesn't come as easy. So like something as a simple task as taking the trash out, a lot of things come from that. So if I say to my son or daughter, hey, I need you to take the trash out Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. And every Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, my son or daughter learns how to do that. So they're learning, they're taking direction. They're learning how to tell time. They're learning a task. And I know, we don't really think about that because we do it. And that for somebody that has a disability, that can mean a lot. So when they go into an employer and they're given direction of, hey, I need you to do some material handling, taking that trash out, some of those tasks actually can transfer over into a task at work. So that's what I mean by expectations. We all do that. Your son and daughter comes home, they throw their book bag on as soon as they walk in, or they spread their papers all over the table, or they don't make their bed. I think I was at a presentation with students, and one of the things that I had read prior was, if you do make your bed every day, statistics show that people are more successful. So just those type of things. We have students that maybe they're not quite understand that when you hear accommodation is something like, hey, I need a hearing aid, or hey, I need glasses, or I might need a checklist. Accommodation for an employer, and they get this kind of confused because they're not sure. They're not allowed to come into work late every day. That's not accommodation because you have a disability. You can't just come in and sit down and not do anything. And sometimes employers are not sure about that, and that's why they do have agencies that will come in and do disability 101 etiquette, because people kind of get gun shy. So they kind of get confused of what is an accommodation or an expectation to what is just, they're not doing it. As an old job coach, one of the things I had an employer call me and said, hey, so-and-so goes to the bathroom every day at 9 o'clock for an hour and they're on their phone. And I was like, what are you doing about it? What does your policy manual say? Well, we wouldn't let them. They would get a verbal, wrote up, then suspended. I said, then that's how you should follow that. That's not an accommodation. No. So, and I mean, we chuckle about it, but people kind of get gun shy about that. So that's what we mean about educating, having expectations. It should go from home to wherever they're at in the community. If your kid's in Walmart and they're screaming at the top of their lungs and having a tantrum over a bag of chips, that's unacceptable in a workplace. It should be at Walmart. I've taken my child out a lot of times. So that's what we need. Does that help answer your question, Nana? Okay.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So our individuals work with the LMH staff members, and sometimes I love this one phone call I get, hey, so-and-so singing in the stairwell again, can you come make them stop? Well, first of all, I think it's kind of cute, but in a public place, maybe not, the hospital. So we are trying to help the staff who work with our young people to go ahead and tell them, hey, buddy, you need to stop singing right now, even though I love it, but that's not what we do, at work, or something like that. So, really simple, but allowing the individual the opportunity to succeed or to fail. And a lot of times as caregivers and parents, we want to rush in and so they don't fail. And how do we learn? Is by making mistakes and failing, and then going from that particular situation. So at Project Search, we are going to expect them to meet the criteria of Lincoln Memorial Hospital in conduct, in workload, and it is a process, but sometimes they go way beyond our expectations, and sometimes they fail. And it's knowing that individual, like what can they do, what can't they do, but still setting those high standards. I can't stress how much it's important to let a person fail than to always do it for them.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we are definitely a failure-averse society. So I think what you said, allowing someone the ability to fail is huge. We all need to allow ourselves the ability to fail as well. So yeah, that's a big one. So we are not going to get to every question. I'm going to ask one last one so that we can give a few minutes for everyone to kind of get settled, and for the funded partners that are sticking around to get some coffee or whatever they need to do. But I thought this question from the audience. So do we have any idea what's the size of the demographic that we're talking, whether they're youth, young adults, or even adults that are living with developmental disabilities? Do you have any idea of the prevalence in Licking County, and maybe are there places in the county where there are folks that don't have I think of this as like don't have as much access to services maybe in certain parts of the county if they're distributed throughout?
I knew that a long time ago, but not now, so I'm passing it down.
I'm not sure either. I will say that most of my referrals come from the Newark area, or a lot of people want to meet in Newark because there are typically more things to do. But we do have people from all over Licking County, from Granville, Pataskala, on the border of Muskingum County, in Zanesville. We have it all over Licking County. It's just a matter of that transportation being a barrier. So that is the biggest thing that we're trying to mitigate right now. But as far as general numbers, that is something that I am not sure of.
The number of folks that we're currently working with, ages 13 to 25, 522 students. There are a lot more that's not connected to us, that may be connected to opportunities for Ohioans, but they're not yet connected, or they may never be connected. But currently, I just checked that, we're about 522 youth, 13 up till they turn 25. So.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, our board in general serves over 2,600 people.
Yeah.
So that's birth to death. I mean, that's the truth. Yeah. I was just gonna give you that number because when you say it like that, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that like in Pataskala, we have a lot of, like the Nepali population has grown. We have a lot of services, but we're working on building that connection of like, you know, building trust and what services do they want. It's, you know, it's different populations, so we're definitely learning that.
Yeah, certainly growing, as we continue to grow and change as a community, there are changes of services that we can offer and that we do things, so. Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna get to everybody's questions because we do need to wrap up, but then let's hear it for our panel. Thank you. We appreciate your time and sharing your expertise with us. And thanks for all of you who joined us and shared your questions. So that concludes our monthly forum. Again, community or funded partners, we are going to start our meeting here at 11:30.